On the day of the divorce, I slapped Mia twice in a row. When Austin Thorne arrived, that woman was crying in the embrace of his custom Zegna suit like a frightened, wet little deer. His eyes were crimson as he roared at me. "Victoria, you are simply out of control. You better apologize to Mia right now, or your position as Mrs. Thorne ends today." The air froze in that instant, and the entire tech company office floor in Midtown Manhattan fell dead silent. Everyone thought I would bow down for that envied title of Mrs. Thorne, after all. That was Austin Thorne, the new god of Silicon Valley and the darling of Wall Street. I sneered, raised my hand, and gave him 2 slaps as well. Deal divorce. That afternoon, the air in Midtown Manhattan was permeated with a nauseatingly sweet smell of cheap vanilla coming from Mia, mixed with the dry ozone scent of the central AC, filling Austin Thorne's office on the top floor of the Park Avenue office building. When I pushed open that heavy mahogany door, supposedly flown in from Italy, what I saw was precisely this scene that made me want to puke. That tech upstart who usually calls the shots on Wall Street was acting like a mother hen protecting her chicks, holding a woman in an ill-fitting fast fashion dress tightly in his arms. That was Mia, his executive assistant, a girl who always looked at men with innocent eyes. She was hiding in the embrace of Austin's bespoke Zegna suit, weeping pitifully as if she had suffered a massive injustice. And Austin, his eyes red with rage, like a provoked lion, roared at me standing at the door. "Victoria, you are simply out of control. You actually dared to have someone shut down Mia's project. You are not just a cold-blooded control freak, you are a jealous lunatic." The air froze in that instant, and the glass walls of the entire office floor seemed to tremble. The secretaries and analysts outside were dead silent, everyone holding their breath, waiting for me. Victoria Sterling, this Mrs. Thorne from an old money family who was always elegant and proper to bow my head. After all, standing opposite me was Austin Thorne, the new god of Silicon Valley, the darling chased by countless media outlets. But I just looked at him coldly, like looking at a pile of non-recyclable trash. I recalled that before walking into this office, I saw Mia reaching her hand into Austin's shirt. That blatant provocation completely lit the fuse I had been suppressing for so long. I strode forward, grabbed Mia's arm, and yanked her out of Austin's embrace. Smack! Smack! 2 slaps in a row, without the slightest hesitation, without holding back a bit. Every sound was as crisp as firecrackers exploding on this floor. Mia didn't even have time to scream before her whole face swelled up red instantly, and blood seeped from the corner of her mouth. She was slapped, dazed, clutching her face, looking at me in terror. Austin was clearly shocked by the sudden violence too, but he reacted quickly, shoving me away and pulling the teetering Mia back into his arms, the fury in his eyes almost swallowing me whole. "Victoria, are you crazy?" he roared, his voice hoarse with anger. "Apologize to Mia, immediately, or else your time as Mrs. Thorne ends today." In that moment, it was as if someone had pressed the mute button on the world. I looked at him, looked at this man I had loved for 10 years, watching him use our 10-year marriage as a bargaining chip to threaten me for a cheap pick. Me girl he had known for less than 6 months. He thought I would be scared, thought I would compromise for that hollow title for so-called decency. I laughed out loud. It was the relief that follows extreme absurdity. Deal. I looked into his eyes, enunciating clearly. Divorce. Seizing the moment while he was stunned, I raised my hand and backhanded him twice as well. Smack, smack! These 2 slaps were harder than the last, making my palms tingle. Austin's face was turned to the side, looking at me in disbelief. Those blue eyes that always held a controller's arrogance were now written with shock. He never imagined that Victoria would actually dare to lay a hand on him. Surprised, I shook out my hand and took a threatening step forward, my 10-centimeter heels clicking out an aggressive rhythm on the marble floor. "I was so busy packing for the divorce, I almost forgot to deal with you." "You," Austin clutched his face, his lips trembling. "You'll be fine, Austin," I interrupted him, my tone as flat as if discussing today's terrible stock market. "When you paraded this cheap little assistant down 5th Avenue, even letting her wear that necklace I left at the Hamptons Villa last year, did you never think today would come with such short-sightedness? I think your tech empire shouldn't be named Thorne anymore. Just let it take my name, Sterling. After all, the moment I saw you two, only one thought remained in my mind. What posture to take so slapping the both of you would feel the smoothest." Mia was still crying, that deliberately practiced, pitiful expression of hers was simply too amateurish for Manhattan's elite circles. Wearing her tears, she tried to use those tactics she used on men to soften the situation, looking at me with a trembling voice. Miss Victoria, you really misunderstood. Austin and I just have a professional relationship. I just admire him too much. Shut up. I didn't even bother sparing her a glance, directly pressing the intercom on the desk. Security, get in here. Drag this woman out. The air purification system on this floor needs an immediate upgrade. The smell of that cheap perfume makes me sick. Two hulking men immediately pushed through the door, hoisting Mia up like they were dragging away a sack of trash. Her screams didn't even have time to pierce my eardrums before being cut off by the elevator doors. Only Austin and I were left in the office. I pulled a slender cigarette out of my Hermes Birkin bag and lit it. The taste of nicotine slightly settled the churning in my stomach. I leaned against his absurdly wide mahogany desk, took a deep drag, and then blew all the smoke right onto that face of his that once fascinated me, but now only felt greasy. Next, I took out a document I had prepared long ago from my bag and slapped it heavily against his chest. "Sign it." "What is this?" Austin instinctively caught it, looked down at it, and his pupils instantly constricted. "A divorce agreement? Victoria, you are going to divorce me over a little thing like this? Small matter." I scoffed, the ember of the cigarette between my fingers flickering. "In your eyes, cheating is a small matter. And trampling my dignity under your feet is also a small matter. Austin, not only am I going to divorce you, but I am also going to let you know just how fragile your so-called new money status is without the support of the Sterling family." 30 days, I blew out a smoke ring, my eyes ice cold. "I'll give you 30 days to let the lawyers verify the assets. In 30 days, we finish the paperwork." Austin slammed the agreement hard onto the ground, pages scattering all over the floor. His chest heaved violently. He was clearly enraged. "You are dreaming," he roared, the veins on his neck bulging. "Without me, the Sterling family's fashion group's capital chain would have snapped long ago. Victoria, it is you who can't leave me, not me who can't leave you. Your toughness right now is just throwing a tantrum to try and get my attention. Before, I might have coaxed you, but this time you've gone too far. You hit Mia in public, and you hit me. You must apologize." Looking at his self-righteous face, I suddenly felt that the boy who once wore a blue blazer on the beach in the Hamptons and shyly handed me ice cream was completely dead. Dead in the desires of the Vanity Fair, dead in his endless self-righteous. "Inflation, you are overthinking it." I turned around, looking at the priceless rosewood desk beneath me. This was the gift I gave him for our 3rd wedding anniversary, made from the finest wood, never expecting it would now become the hotbed for his illicit affair with that woman. Mia was lying on this desk just now, wasn't she? I frowned in disgust and stubbed out the half-smoked cigarette directly onto the smooth desktop. Sizzle, the expensive wood made a sizzling sound. The cigarette butt burned through the lacquer, leaving an ugly charred scar just like our 10-year relationship. Sickening. "What are you doing?" Austin tried to rush over to stop me, but I had already let go. I dusted the ash off my hand and took off that massive pink diamond wedding ring from my ring finger. It was a one-of-a-kind design, once symbolizing his promise to me. Now, it is just a dirty piece of scrap metal. With a clang, I tossed the ring precisely into the trash can next to the table. I never keep dirty things, whether it is a table, a ring, or a person. I picked up my bag and walked towards the door without looking back. My back was straight, even if my heart was bleeding. I would never show a hint of weakness in front of this man. A daughter of the Sterling family sheds blood, not tears. "Victoria," Austin roared from behind, his voice finally carrying a trace of barely noticeable panic. "If you walk out this door, don't even think about coming back. That woman is really pregnant. That is my child. You know what this means to me. If you leave now, this child will be born as the eldest son of the Thorne family." My footsteps came to a sudden halt. My hand stopped on the doorknob, my knuckles turning white from the force. A child, these 2 words were like a poison-dipped needle, piercing precisely into the softest and most rotten part of my heart. That intense pain instantly spread through my limbs and bones, making me almost unable to stand. Hurricane Sandy, the summer I turned 18, the whole city lost power that night, and the wind howled like a devil's wail. I was curled up in the Tribeca apartment, my gut twisting in agonizing pain, a winding trail of blood beneath me. I called Austin 20 times, but not one connected. I found out later that Mia's still an intern back then, said she was scared of the thunder that day, and Austin was keeping her company. That unformed child just slipped away in the darkness and loneliness. Gone with it was my right to be a mother. And Austin, even now, still thinks it was just an ordinary stomach flu. I took a deep breath and forced back the stinging tears welling up in my eyes. I didn't look back. My voice as cold as the Hudson River in December. That is your business, Mr. Thorne. I hope you and that so-called hair meet a good end. Also, don't forget to make your lawyer hurry up. My patience is very limited. The elevator doors slowly closed, completely shutting out Austin's face, which was twisted with anger. Walking out of the building, the Manhattan sunlight stung my eyes. I got into the black Lincoln waiting by the curb and said softly to the driver, "Go to the old house in the Upper East Side. Also, notify the butler to move all things belonging to me out of the Tribeca penthouse. Everything, leave nothing behind." "Ma'am, no," I corrected. "Call me Miss Victoria." The car started and merged into the congested traffic. I took out my phone and quickly blocked all of Austin's contact methods. Watching the bustling street scenery retreating outside the window, not only did I not feel fear, but I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. It is finally over. This marriage, full of lies and self-indulgent sentimentality, finally came to a complete close amidst his threatening words of Mrs. Thorne. But that is not enough. Just a divorce is letting him off too easy. I want him to know what losing Victoria Sterling means to him. The phone vibrated once. It was a text message from the bank. I looked at the screen, a cold sneer curling at the corners of my mouth. Fine, Austin froze my supplementary card. He thinks this will force me to come back. He probably forgot. The Sterling family has stood in Manhattan for a century, never relying on men's charity. I dialed a number I knew by heart. "Arthur, it is me. Are you free tonight? I think we need to talk about that merger. Also, help me contact the best divorce lawyer team in New York. I want Austin Thorne to walk away with nothing." A low, magnetic chuckle came from the other end of the phone. It was Arthur Vance, Wall Street's most feared capital hunter, and my lifelong nemesis and ally. Finally awake, Sleeping Beauty. His voice held a trace of knowing calm. "I am at the Long Island estate, and the wine is ready. Since you want to talk business, bring your sharpest knife." An hour later, the helicopter landed on the lawn of Arthur's ocean, facing private estate. Arthur was wearing a casual white linen shirt, sleeves rolled up loosely, swirling a glass of amber whiskey in his hand as he stood on the terrace waiting for me. The sea breeze toused his black hair, making him look less lethal than he usually did at the negotiation table and adding a touch of languid sexiness. "Looks like you are in a good mood." I walked over, took the wine glass he handed me, and downed it in one gulp. The burning liquid slid down my throat, as if lighting a fire, of course. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Arthur leaned against the railing, gazing at me deeply. "Heard you caused a huge scene in Austin's office. 5 slaps in a row. Victoria, when did your moves get so good?" News travels that fast, I wasn't surprised. In this circle, there are no secrets. All of Wall Street is talking about it. Thorntech's stock price has already dropped 2% in after-hours trading. Arthur smiled. "Everyone is guessing when the Sterling family will withdraw their capital. Immediately," I said coldly. "I've already had the legal department draft the documents. Not only am I withdrawing capital, but I am also taking back all the channel resources I lent him before. I want him to understand exactly who gave him the status he has now." Arthur raised a brow, a glint of appreciation flashing in his eyes. "Ruthless, but that is not enough. Austin still has a few cards up his sleeve, and that woman named Mia is rumored to be pregnant with his child. Public opinion-wise, if you don't handle this right, you could easily be painted as a vicious wife suppressing her husband out of jealousy." "Child," I scoffed, my fingers tightening slightly around the wine glass. "Arthur, do you really believe that is his child?" Arthur froze for a moment, then narrowed his eyes. "You mean, look into that woman." I set down my wine glass, my gaze intense. "I don't believe in coincidences. Before she showed up, Austin always wanted a child, but we never had one. How come she gets pregnant the moment she arrives, and right at the critical moment when I was preparing to ask for a divorce?" "Understood." Arthur nodded, that predatory glint flickering in his eyes. "I'll have the best private investigator look into it. If it is fake, I'll personally deliver the evidence to your hands. If it is real, well, there are plenty of ways to make it fake." I looked at Arthur, a warmth surging in my heart. In this world full of calculation and profit, only Arthur would stand by my side, no matter what. Although he has a sharp tongue, his actions have never let me down. "Thank you, Arthur." "Don't thank me just yet." Arthur leaned closer, the faint scent of cedarwood on him enveloping me. "You know I am a businessman. I don't make losing deals." "What do I get for helping you bring down Austin?" I raised my head and looked straight into his eyes. 30% of Thorntech's market share, and the Sterling family's priority partnership rights for this quarter. Is that enough? Arthur smiled, a meaningful smile. "Deal. But I want one more thing. What? A date. He straightened up, adjusting his collar. Next week is the charity gala at the Met. The Thorne family is one of the hosts. Since you want to start a war, you have to declare it in the most visible place. Be my date. I want everyone to see that the Victoria who left Austin hasn't withered. She is even more dazzling. I thought of Austin's insufferable arrogance, thought of Mia's fake tears, and the will to fight instantly surged within me. All right, I agreed. I'll be there on time. For the next few days, I was busy dealing with the division of assets and company affairs, completely blocking out all of Austin's harassment. It wasn't until the day before the gala that I got a call from Austin's mother. That old woman, who always looked down her nose at everyone, spoke to me over the phone in a patronizing tone. "Victoria, I heard you are throwing a tantrum. That is enough now. Austin is a man. It is normal for him to have his little flings. As long as you are willing to lower your head and admit your mistake, come back and take good care of that child, the Thorne family will still recognize you as our daughter-in-law. After all, Mia comes from a low background. She can't be the official wife." I gripped the phone and laughed out loud in anger. Did this whole family really think the world revolved around them? "Mrs. Thorne," I interrupted her rambling, "I think you've mistaken one thing. It is not about whether the Thorne family accepts me, but whether I want to kick the Thorne family out of my sight. Also, please tell your son for me that at the banquet tomorrow, I will be giving him a big gift." After saying that, I hung up the phone and pulled the phone line right out. On the night of the banquet, the Manhattan night sky was illuminated by countless spotlights. The red carpet in front of the Metropolitan Museum was star-studded and teeming with celebrities. I wore a black velvet gown custom, made for me by a famous designer. The cut was minimalist, yet extremely form-fitting, and my back was completely bare, connected only by a few crisscrossing chains of crushed diamonds. As I walked, they flowed like a galaxy of light down my spine. That was my battle armor, and also the mourning dress for my foolish past marriage. The moment I stepped onto the red carpet on Arthur's arm, the originally noisy crowd fell silent for a split second, followed immediately by even more frenzied camera flashes. "Oh my God, is that Victoria Sterling? She is so beautiful. Is that Arthur Vance next to her? The Wolf of Wall Street, how are they together? I heard the Thornes are getting a divorce." Looks like it is true. The sound of whispering was endless, but I looked straight ahead, chin slightly raised, maintaining the arrogance unique to the Sterling family. Arthur's hand rested lightly on my waist, giving me silent support. We walked up the steps, and at the end I saw Austin. He was wearing a white formal suit, looking handsome as ever, but nothing could hide the dark circles under his eyes and his anxiety. There was no one by his side. That kind of unpresentable mistress naturally had no right to appear at an occasion like this. Seeing Arthur and me walking over intimately, Austin's face instantly turned livid. The fury in his eyes looked like it was about to erupt. Ignoring the reporters' cameras around him, he charged straight at us. "Victoria," he blocked our way, his voice suppressing his rage. "What is this supposed to mean? The paperwork isn't even done yet, and you couldn't wait to find a replacement. Are you that desperate for a man?" Arthur took half a step forward, calmly shielding me behind him, a mocking smile on his lips. "Mr. Thorne, please watch your words. Victoria is my date now. If you use any more insulting language, I don't mind making tomorrow's headline an analysis of the reasons for Thorne Tech's stock price crash." "Who the hell do you think you are? This is between husband and wife." Austin reached out to grab me. "Victoria, come back with me. Stop making a fool of yourself here." I coldly swatted his hand away, my gaze like a knife. "You are the one embarrassing yourself, Austin. Have you forgotten that you haven't signed the divorce agreement yet? Since you won't sign, I'll have to sue for divorce. Tonight, I am attending as the chairman of the Sterling Group, and it has nothing to do with you." "You," Austin was tongue-tied. He seemed not to have expected me to be so resolute, let alone that I would publicly embarrass him on such an occasion. He lowered his voice, his tone softening with a hint of pleading. "Victoria, stop making a scene. Mia already knows she was wrong, and I've agreed to give her a sum of money to make her leave. As long as you come back, we can send that child away." "Send away?" I cut him off, feeling absolutely disgusted. "That is a life yet. In your mouth it sounds like a piece of goods that can be discarded at will. Austin, you make me sick." Just then there was a sudden commotion in the crowd. A figure wearing a loose white dress with a slightly bulging belly stumbled through the security line and rushed straight towards us. It was Mia. She wore no makeup, her face as pale as paper. That cheap dress looked completely out of place amidst the crowd of haute couture gowns, yet it appeared particularly glaring because of that bulging belly. Kneeling before Austin and me with a thud, tearfully begging, "Please don't drive me away. I don't ask for a title. I only ask to be allowed to give birth to the child. This is the fruit of our love." The whole crowd went into an uproar. All cameras were aimed at this scene, the wealthy upstart, the original wife, the pregnant mistress. This was simply Manhattan's biggest scandal of the year. Austin was completely dumbfounded. He looked at Mia kneeling on the ground, his face turning from grim to deathly pale. He never expected that the woman he had tried so hard to hide would run here to force his hand. "Mia, what are you doing? Who told you to come?" Austin tried to pull her up, but Mia clung tightly to his thigh, turned to look at me, and cried even more miserably. "Miss Victoria, I beg you, you can hit me, you can scold me, you can even kill me, but please spare my child. He is innocent. You are a woman too. How can you be so cruel as to force me to get an abortion? This is a life." Her shout pushed me right into the teeth of the storm. The envious gazes around me instantly turned into pointing fingers. Forcing someone to have an abortion, that is way too harsh, isn't it? Even if she is a mistress, the child is innocent. The original wives of the wealthy really do have vicious methods. I looked at this farce before me, at the woman acting so earnestly in front of my face, and the man who was completely at a loss. Not only did I not panic, but I also took a brown paper bag from Arthur's hand. "Are you done acting?" I looked down at Mia from above, my voice clearly spreading to every corner through the surrounding reporters' microphones. "Since everyone is so concerned about this, child, we might as well lay everything out in the open right here." I unhurriedly opened the paper bag and pulled out several high-definition photos and a hospital medical report. "Miss Mia, you said I forced you to have an abortion," I sneered, throwing the photos directly onto her tear-stained face. "Then can you explain, since you cherish this child so much, why you appeared at a plastic surgery clinic in Manhattan last week to consult about abdominal liposuction and implants? Furthermore, regarding these so-called ultrasound scans of yours, why are even the dates photoshopped?" The photos scattered on the ground. They were high-definition shots taken by a private detective of her entering and leaving the plastic surgery clinic, as well as that enlarged ultrasound scan with obvious traces of Photoshop. Mia's crying stopped abruptly. She stared at the evidence on the ground in terror, and her body began to tremble violently. "And another thing," I continued to twist the knife, my gaze sweeping over the shocked crowd around us, finally landing on the ashen-faced Austin. "Mr. Thorne, you might not know this, but this true love of yours had very extensive work experience at a certain club in Las Vegas before she met you. Her so-called pregnancy is nothing but a carefully fabricated lie to extort a huge alimony settlement from you. What is stuffed in her belly is probably just a silicone pad. So this is the true love you were willing to kick me out and even threaten me for. Austin, your taste is truly touching." Dead silence. Then came an explosive outburst of discussion. All the sympathy instantly flipped into mockery and disdain. Austin shoved Mia away as if he'd been electrocuted. Mia fell to the ground, crying for real this time. It was no longer an act, but pure despair. "Number. It is not like that, Austin. Let me explain." "Get out," Austin roared, his face turning a deep purplish red, shame and rage nearly driving him mad. He pointed a trembling finger at Mia. "You dare lie to me, you bitch!" He turned his head to look at me. The anger in his eyes vanished, replaced by emotions named regret and fear. He tried to walk toward me, reaching out to pull me. "Victoria, I didn't know. I was really tricked by her. I am a victim." I took a step back, avoided his touch, took Arthur's arm, turned to face all the media, and revealed a victor's smile. "I would like to take this opportunity to announce something. I, Victoria Sterling, have formally filed for divorce. Furthermore, the Sterling Group will immediately terminate all cooperation with Thorne Tech and pursue legal action against Mr. Thorne for transferring marital assets during the marriage. From now on, we go our separate ways." With that said, amidst a sea of flashing lights, I walked away in my high heels without looking back, leaving behind that once high and mighty man to slowly break down amidst the crowd's ridicule. The dinner scandal that night was like a deep-water bomb dropped into a calm lake, not only shaking up Manhattan's social circles, but also completely destroying Austin's carefully cultivated, perfect elite image. The next day's headlines were all shocking upheaval in a wealthy family, scandal behind the fake pregnancy, and Sterling Group announces withdrawal of investment. Thorne Technology faces bankruptcy crisis. I was in the old mansion on the Upper East Side, leisurely drinking the Earl Grey tea brought by the butler, watching the wretched sight of Austin being mobbed by reporters at his company entrance on the television news. That shirt of his, which used to be always ironed meticulously, was now all wrinkled. His tie was crooked, his eyes dodged the camera, and he had none of his former swagger. Mr. Austin. Oh no, Mr. Thorne has been standing outside for 3 hours. The butler walked in and reported somewhat hesitantly. He said he must see you, and also said he brought that woman named Mia and wants to make her personally kowtow and apologize to you. I put down my teacup, the corner of my mouth curling into a playful smile. Kowtow and apologize. Now he remembers this feudal remnant style. Too bad, this is New York, I don't go for that. However, since he is so sincere, let him in. I also want to see what new tricks that woman full of lies can play. 5 minutes later, Austin dragged Mia into the living room. Mia looked even more haggard than last night. That white dress was already dirty, and her hair was scattered messily over her shoulders. As soon as she came in the door, she knelt on the carpet under Austin's shoving. "Victoria, I am sorry. I know I was wrong." Austin rushed to me, trying to reach out and pull me up, but was blocked by the bodyguard beside him. He could only stand there, pointing at Mia on the ground, and said, "This bitch tricked me. She said she was pregnant and even produced an ultrasound report." I was confused, and I've already called the police, and they'll be here soon to arrest her for fraud. Victoria, please, considering I was also deceived, can you not withdraw your investment? That is my hard work. I looked coldly at his face, a face willing to sell out the person sleeping beside him for profit, and felt nothing but immense irony. Hoodwinked. I chuckled lightly. Austin, are you a 3-year-old? You believe such a clumsy lie. Or is it that deep down you craved a child to solidify your position, even if it meant sacrificing me? Now that the jig is up, you push all the responsibility onto a woman. Is this your idea of taking responsibility? Austin was tongue-tied, his face flushing red. Miss Victoria, I didn't commit fraud. I really didn't. Mia, kneeling on the ground, suddenly looked up, her eyes revealing a trace of madness. Although I am not pregnant, my love for Austin is real. Unlike you, you don't love him at all. You only love your family and your reputation. You are the one who treats him like a tool. Smack! Austin backhanded Mia across the face, cutting off her, screaming, "Shut up. It is not your place to speak here." Mia was slapped so hard her head whipped to the side, blood oozing from the corner of her mouth. She clutched her face, suddenly let out an eerie laugh, then shot up and dashed toward the spiral staircase nearby. "Since none of you believe me, I'll just die to prove it to you," she shouted as she ran upstairs. Austin froze for a moment, then immediately chased after her. "Are you crazy? Get down here." I frowned as well and signaled the bodyguards to follow. This was the Sterling family's old residence. If someone died here, I'd end up in a mess of trouble too. Mia ran to the top of the stairs on the 2nd floor, suddenly stopped, and turned to look at Austin, who was catching up, a trace of viciousness flashing in her eyes. "Austin, since I can't have you, no one else will." After saying that, she didn't jump off like they do in television dramas, but suddenly threw herself backward, rolling down the long spiral staircase. "Ah-ha!" The scream echoed through the entire hall. Mia tumbled to the bottom floor like a rag doll, her forehead smashing against the banister. Blood instantly gushed out, staining the expensive Persian carpet red. Austin stood on the 2nd floor, completely dumbfounded. I was stunned too. This woman, how could she be so ruthless to herself? Just then, the main doors were pushed open, and a group of uniformed police officers rushed in, closely followed by reporters who had been lying in wait. "Freeze! Police!" Camera flashes went off wildly, freezing this tragic scene in time. Mia, lying on the ground, groaned, pointed at Austin on the 2nd floor, and said in a weak but clear voice, "It was him. He pushed me down. He wanted to kill me to silence me." Over the next 24 hours, public opinion in Manhattan completely blew up. Thorntech CEO suspected of attempted murder, pregnant mistress brutally attacked. All sorts of sensational headlines dominated every media outlet. Although I knew Mia wasn't pregnant, in the eyes of the public, this was undoubtedly a bloody escalation of a wealthy family feud. Austin was taken away. Although he was temporarily released on bail due to insufficient evidence, he faces not only a hefty bail amount, but also a complete collapse of his reputation. Thorntech's board of directors held an emergency meeting overnight and removed him from his position as CEO, and I, as a bystander to this farce and a victim in some sense, was surprisingly calm. I was in the study flipping through another document Arthur had just brought over. It was a medical record from 10 years ago, long sealed away, yet every word wept blood. "Are you sure you want to show him this now?" Arthur sat across from me, frowning slightly. "This might completely destroy him. Shouldn't he know?" I closed the file, my fingertips feeling a bit cold. He always thought I chose to be Dink because I didn't want children. He always thought that was my selfishness. Now it is time for him to know who exactly deprived him of the right to be a father. That night, Austin barged into my apartment. He had obviously drunk a lot, exuding an air of decadence and alcohol. The bodyguards didn't stop him this time. That was my instruction. "Victoria," he slumped onto the sofa, holding his head in his hands, his voice choking. "I am done for. It is all over. The company is gone. My reputation is ruined, and now I am facing jail time. That woman is crazy. Why did she frame me? Why? Because of greed, because of despair, and also because you gave her the chance to hurt you." I sat across from him, my voice calm. "Austin, this is the price you pay for your so-called true love. I know I was wrong, I really do." He looked up, his eyes bloodshot like a stray dog. "Victoria, only you can save me now. You are from the Sterling family. As long as you are willing to come forward and clear my name, as long as you lend me some money to turn things around. Can we start over? I promise I'll listen to you from now on. We can have a baby and live a stable life." "A baby," I laughed so hard that tears nearly came out. I threw that document onto the coffee table in front of him. "Take a look, this is the child you've always wanted." Austin picked up the document with shaking hands and turned to the first page. It was the emergency record from the night of Hurricane Sandy 10 years ago, clearly stating, "Patient admitted for severe abdominal pain, diagnosed with ruptured ectopic pregnancy and massive hemorrhage, underwent emergency surgery to remove bilateral fallopian tubes." His hands began to shake violently, his eyes staring fixedly at those lines of cold text. "Thursday. What does this mean, ectopic pregnancy? Fallopian tube removal? How is that possible? Didn't you tell me back then that it was acute gastroenteritis?" "Where were you that night?" I asked softly, my voice sounding as if it came from a distant time and space. The whole city blacked out, and the wind was so strong it felt like it would smash the windows. I was rolling on the apartment floor in pain, blood all over the ground. "I called you 20 times, a full 20 times. Where were you?" Austin's face instantly turned deathly pale, completely bloodless. His memory began to revive. That night, he was keeping Mia company back. Then she was just a newly hired intern, crying that she was afraid of the dark and the thunder to show off his gentlemanly demeanor. And for that tiny bit of ambiguous vanity, he turned off his phone and stayed with her in the office all night. I didn't know." He slumped to the ground, the document slipping from his hand. I thought you just weren't feeling well. I didn't know it would be this serious. You didn't know." I stood up, looking down at him. "You don't know how desperate I was on that stormy night. You don't know how devastated I was when I woke up and heard the doctor say I could never be a mother again. And you certainly don't know how much my heart ached every time you mentioned children over these 10 years. Austin, you killed our child with your own hands. And it was also you who stripped me of my right to be a mother with your own hands. And you actually have the nerve to accuse me of being vicious for the sake of a woman faking a pregnancy. For that culprit, to threaten to divorce me? Ah." Austin suddenly let out a blood-curdling howl. The sound didn't seem human, but more like the wail of a wounded beast. He frantically grabbed at his hair and smashed his head hard against the floor, making dull thud-thud sounds. "I am sorry, Victoria. I am sorry. I deserve to die. I really deserve to die." He wailed as he frantically slapped himself in the face, each slap harder than the last, until the corners of his mouth bled and his cheeks swelled up. I watched this scene coldly. Watching this man I once loved to the bone repenting like a madman right now. There wasn't a shred of satisfaction in my heart, only endless desolation. In this moment, I finally let go completely. Enough. I pressed the security buzzer. "This is the last time I am seeing you. Austin, sign the divorce papers. Don't force me to make this medical record public when that happens. Not only you, but the entire Thorne family will become a laughingstock." 2 bodyguards walked in and hoisted up Austin, who was limp as mud, like they were dragging a dead dog. The moment he was dragged out the door, he was still crying out, "Victoria, I beg you, don't leave me. I really have nothing left." The door closed. The world went quiet. The day after Austin was taken away, I took the movers to that penthouse in Tribeca. That was the home we'd lived in for 5 years of our marriage, once filled with all my fantasies about our future life. Pushing open the door, a stale smell of alcohol hit me in the face. The living room was a total wreck with bottles and takeout boxes scattered all over the floor. Clearly, Austin had been living in a drunken stupor ever since I moved out. I didn't linger, going straight to directing the workers to start moving things. Take this sofa away. Throw it out. The paintings on the wall, pack them all up, except for that Monet replica. The clothes in the walk-in closet. Don't leave a single piece, donate them all to charity. I was like an emotionless commander, methodically dismantling this place that was once called home. The disappearance of every object felt like cutting a tie between Austin and me. When the workers dismantled and carried away that expensive custom bed in the master bedroom, I found a velvet box in the drawer of the nightstand. I opened it to find a necklace. It was the one I'd lost at the Hamptons villa last year, which later appeared around Mia's neck. Now it lay quietly here again, as if mocking my stupidity. I picked up the necklace and walked out onto the balcony. From here, you can overlook the entire Hudson River. The view is breathtakingly beautiful. I remember when we first moved in, Austin held me right here, pointed at the Statue of Liberty in the distance and said, "Victoria, you are my goddess, and I will make you the happiest woman in all of Manhattan." The vows from that moment still echo in my ears, but the person who made them has changed beyond recognition. I let go, and the necklace traced a silver parabola, disappearing into the wind dozens of stories up. Goodbye, Austin. It took only an afternoon to clear out the apartment. When the afterglow of the sunset spilled into the empty living room, this place had become as cold and unfamiliar as a model unit. There was no longer my scent, no longer any trace of me. I took out my phone, opened the smart home control app, deleted Austin's fingerprint and facial recognition permissions, and then changed the password. After doing all this, I turned and left. As the elevator descended, I received a text from the lawyer. Austin signed. He has waived all rights to asset division and is leaving with nothing. But he asked me to pass on a message to you, he said. He is waiting for you at the law firm, wanting to see you one last time. I looked at the screen, my finger hesitating for a second between decline and accept finally. I replied with 2 words, all right. This wasn't just to say goodbye, but to thoroughly sever that last shred of unrealistic fantasy in his heart. I wanted him to see with his own eyes how I am moving on to a new life without him. The meeting was arranged in a conference room at a high-end law firm in Midtown Manhattan. When I pushed open the door, Austin was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with his back to me. Hearing the sound of the door opening, he turned around. In just a few days of not seeing him, he seemed to have aged 10 years. His stubble was dark, his eyes sunken, and that suit which used to be crisp now hung empty on his body, appearing particularly desolate. When he saw me, a faint light lit up in his eyes, the longing of a drowning man seeing driftwood. "Victoria," his voice was hoarse as he tried to force a smile at me, but it was uglier than crying. "You came." I didn't respond, just walked straight to the table, picked up the divorce agreement that was already signed, and after checking it for errors, signed my own name. The tip of the pen scratched across the paper, making a rustling sound. That was the sound of our 10-year marriage coming to a close. "It is signed." I closed the file and handed it to the lawyer beside me. "How soon can the formalities be completed?" "Within this week at the earliest," the lawyer answered respectfully. "Good." I nodded and turned to leave. "Wait," Austin suddenly rushed over and blocked my way. He took out an insulated bag from behind his back and carefully opened it. Inside was a container of slightly melted vanilla ice cream. "Victoria, do you remember?" He held the ice cream, his eyes filled with pleading. "That year we were 18 at Hampton Beach. I waited in line for an hour to get this for you. You said it was the best ice cream you'd ever had. I know saying this now is useless, but I just want you to have it one more time, even if it is just for the sake of our past. Okay?" I looked at that tub of ice cream melted into a milkshake, looked at his posture humble into the dust, yet felt not a shred of emotion. The past, he actually still dares to bring up the past. "Austin," I looked into his eyes, my tone calm to the point of cruelty. "Did you forget that day at the beach, when you left your sick mother alone in the car to wait for an hour just to buy me ice cream? Later she got worse and was rushed to the ER. Yet you told me that was because you loved me." Austin froze, the ice cream in his hand almost falling to the ground. How do you know?" "I've known all along," I sneered. "I was stupid back then, thinking that was your deep devotion. Looking back now, that was just your selfish, cold-hearted nature. Your so-called love has always been built on sacrificing others just to satisfy your own sentimentality, whether it was toward your mother or toward me. That boy in the blue suit died a long time ago, died in your repeated bouts of self-righteous devotion." I pushed his hand away, and the tub of ice cream fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. White cream splattered everywhere, looking like a revolting stain. "Right now, you are just a middle-aged man who seems like a stranger to me, pathetic and even disgusting." After saying that, I walked around him and left without looking back. Outside, the early autumn sun was perfect, bringing with it a pleasant chill. A silver Aston Martin was parked by the curb. Arthur was leaning against the door, holding 2 cups of hot coffee. Seeing me come out, he straightened up and flashed a warm, assured smile. "Is it over? It is over." I walked over, took the coffee, and took a deep breath of the air filled with the scent of fallen leaves, feeling a sense of relief I'd never felt before. Where to next? Arthur opened the car door for me, gentlemanly, shielding the top of my head with his hand. "To JFK Airport." I got into the passenger seat and turned to look at him, my eyes twinkling. I heard Paris Fashion Week has started, and the Sterling Group's new collection is debuting there. Besides, shouldn't we announce our engagement over there too? Arthur paused for a second, then the smile in his eyes spread, brighter than the autumn sun. "As you command, my queen." The engine roared and the silver sports car tore through the streets of Manhattan like a bolt of lightning. I took one last look at that towering office building through the rearview mirror. Austin might be standing at the window watching us leave, or maybe he is crying his eyes out over that puddle of ice cream. But none of that matters anymore. He is Manhattan's past tense while I am driving towards a brand new future. This is the real Manhattan. It never believes in tears, only winners.